The Panama Canal is more than just a waterway, it's a lifeline that changed the world. By cutting through the narrowest part of Central America, this marvel of engineering shortened the shipping routes by 20,000 kilometers. Imagine the time and money saved as ships no longer had to navigate around the treacherous tip of South America. But the Panama Canal wasn't made just for convenience. It was a game changer in global trade. Every day, it handles about 14,000 vessels, moving 300 million tons of goods across the world. Whether it's oil from the Middle East or electronics from Asia, the canal connects economies like no other. Its strategic importance is undeniable, making it one of the most valuable assets in global commerce today. Let's dive into the story of how this crucial waterway came to be and why it remains so important. Long before the Panama Canal became a reality, people dreamed of a shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. As early as the 16th century, Spanish explorers saw the potential of such a passage. They knew that cutting through the land in Central America could save ships from the long, dangerous journey around South America. However, the technology and resources needed to build such a canal just didn't exist at the time. In the 19th century, the idea resurfaced, and the French took the first serious attempt. Ferdinand de Lesseps, the man behind the Suez Canal, believed he could replicate his success in Panama. In 1881, the French began digging, but they faced enormous challenges. The thick jungle, heavy rains, and deadly diseases like malaria and yellow fever made the work incredibly difficult. Thousands of workers lost their lives, and after nearly a decade of struggle, the French had to abandon the project. Their failure, however, did not mean the end of the dream. The United States saw the strategic importance of a canal in Panama and was determined to succeed where the French had failed. In 1903, after supporting Panama's independence from Colombia, the US signed a treaty with the new Panamanian government, giving them control over the canal zone. This treaty was the beginning of America's involvement in the construction of the Panama Canal. With better technology, more resources, and a greater understanding of the challenges, the Americans approached the project differently. One of the first steps was to tackle the health crisis. Dr. William Gorgas, who was an American doctor, led efforts to control the spread of diseases by draining swamps, fumigating homes, and providing better living conditions for workers. These measures greatly reduced the death toll. The construction itself was a massive engineering challenge. The Americans decided to build a system of locks to raise and lower ships, instead of digging a sea-level canal. This modern and innovative approach allowed them to manage the elevation changes and avoid some of the difficulties that had plagued the French. The work was hard and took 10 years, but the Americans were determined. On August 15, 1914, the Panama Canal finally opened, marking the end of a long and difficult journey. With the Panama Canal officially opened in 1914, it was celebrated as a huge win for engineering. The first ship to pass through was the SS Ancon, and it started the beginning of a new era in global trade. The canal immediately became a vital route for international shipping, and it dramatically reduced travel time for ships moving between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The impact of the canal was felt around the world. Goods could now be transported more quickly and cheaply, which boosted trade and economic growth. For the United States, the canal was especially important. It allowed the US Navy to move its ships more easily between the two oceans, and it resulted in strengthening America's military presence and influence globally. The canal also helped American businesses by making it easier to export goods to new markets. However, the canal's opening had its own challenges. The First World War had just begun in Europe, which meant that the canal's commercial potential wasn't fully realized right away. Despite this, the canal quickly proved its worth, becoming one of the most important waterways in the world. During World War II, the Panama Canal became even more crucial for military strategy. The canal was a key route for the Allied forces, allowing ships to move quickly between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. This was important for transporting troops, supplies, and warships. The US knew how important the canal was, and so they took steps to protect it. They built defenses around the canal, and these included bunkers, anti-aircraft guns, and they even stationed troops there to guard against any attacks. The canal was never attacked, but its security remained a top priority throughout the war. After World War II came the Cold War, and the canal continued to be strategically important. The US and the Soviet Union were in a tense standoff, and controlling the Panama Canal was seen as essential for maintaining military upper hand. The canal allowed the US to quickly move naval forces to wherever they were needed, which was especially important in case of a conflict. The canal's role in national defense made it a key asset for the US, and they maintained a strong military presence in the canal zone. As time went on, the political landscape around the Panama Canal began to change. In the 1960s and 70s, Panamanians started to push for more control over the canal, which was still operated by the United States. They felt that the canal, which ran through their country, should belong to them. So once again, tensions rose, and it led to protests and clashes between Panamanians and US forces. The demand for Panamanian control of the canal became a powerful movement, and so it was about time for some change. In 1977, after years of negotiations, US President Jimmy Carter and Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos signed the Panama Canal Treaties. These treaties outlined a plan for gradually transferring control of the canal from the United States to Panama. The process was slow and careful, and it made sure that the canal would continue to operate smoothly. The treaties also included provisions for the US to intervene if the canal's neutrality was ever to be threatened. On December 31st, 1999, the Panama Canal was officially handed over to Panama. This was a significant moment in the country's history as they took full control of the canal for the first time. The handover was peaceful and the transition went smoothly. Since then, Panama has managed the canal successfully, and they even undertook major expansions to accommodate more, larger ships and thus increasing global trade. As the Panama Canal continued to serve global trade, it faced many challenges related to environment and operations. The canal relies heavily on fresh water from nearby lakes to operate its locks, but this water supply can be affected by the changing weather patterns, and these included droughts. These challenges make it difficult to maintain the water levels needed for the canal to function efficiently. If the water levels drop too much, it could limit the number of ships that can pass through, which could cause delays and increase costs. Additionally, the canal has to deal with the wear and tear of its infrastructure. The original locks were built over a century ago, and although they are well maintained, the constant passage of large ships takes a toll. It means that the regular maintenance is very important, but it also means temporary closures, which can disrupt global shipping schedules. Furthermore, the canal has to balance its operations with environmental concerns. Protecting the surrounding ecosystems, including the rainforests and waterways, is essential. This means that any expansion or modernization efforts must be carefully planned to minimize the impact on the environment. In recent years, the Panama Canal has undergone significant modernization to keep up with the demands of global trade. One of the most notable upgrades is the expansion project, known as the Panama Canal Expansion, or the third set of locks project. This project was completed in 2016, and this expansion added a new set of wider and deeper locks that allow much larger ships, known as new Panamax vessels, to pass through the canal. These ships can carry more cargo, making the canal more efficient and competitive in the global market. The expansion was a major engineering feat and required careful planning to ensure it didn't disrupt the canal's operations. It also involved a huge investment, both financially and in terms of the labor required. But the project has paid off, as the canal can now accommodate the increasing size of modern ships. The Panama Canal Authority is continuously exploring new ways to improve and adapt the canal to future needs. This includes considering further expansions, enhancing technology for better efficiency, and implementing more sustainable practices to protect the environment. The Panama Canal is a remarkable achievement in engineering and international cooperation. It has transformed global trade, shortened travel times, and connected distant parts of the world. The modernization efforts ensure that the canal will continue to play a crucial role in global trade for years to come. If you enjoyed learning about the history and importance of the Panama Canal, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories from history. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.